Hello, welcome back. So we are coming to the last part of this lesson, and today we'll be completing this lesson and the whole syllabus. So take your page number 128. So we said there are a lot of laws are there in our country. Some of them are very loose, and even those loose rules are not implemented properly. Therefore, we need to make new laws in order to protect our environment from getting polluted. The soil pollution, the water pollution, the air pollution, all these pollutions are possible. Therefore, we have to make proper laws and we have to implement. The government has to be very strict in implementing these laws, otherwise all these laws become useless. So take page number 128. So in 1984, there were very few laws protecting the environment in India, and there was hardly any enforcement of these laws. So some few years ago, that is 1984, the government had not made much laws in order to protect the environment, and very few laws were there, and that laws were not properly implemented also. Then the environment was treated as a free entity, and any industry could pollute the air and water without any restrictions. So anybody could start industry anywhere, whether water is polluted or air is polluted. There was no botheration. Nobody was punishing them. There was no law to punish them. And whether it was our rivers, air or groundwater, the environment was being polluted and the health of the people disregarded. So because of this pollution, when the air is polluted, we breathe that polluted air and we get sick. Our health become disregarded. Our health is getting weaker and weaker and degraded. And thus, not only was UC a beneficiary of lower safety standards, it didn't have to spend any money to clean up the pollution. In the USA, this is a necessary part of the production process. So if this company were to be in USA, they had to spend much more money to pay compensation, and after the accident they have to clean up all the environment and so on. But in India, they had no such rules. Therefore, the company refused to come and clean up. So they just went away. That is why the lack of laws, they escaped. They took advantage of the lack of strict laws in our country. The Bhopal disaster brought the issue of environment to forefront. So several thousands of persons who were not associated with the factory in any way were greatly affected because of the poisonous gases leaked from the plant. So when this accident took place in Bhopal, then government woke up. Government realized, oh, such a loose laws are there in our country. We need to make new laws. We need to implement these laws and so on. Because even people who are not associated with the factory, even people who are not working in the factory or living nearby, even they were affected for their life. So even the innocent people, they were affected. Their life was lost or their health was degraded. And this made people realize that the existing laws, though weak, only covered the individual worker and not persons who might be injured due to industrial accidents. So these few laws that was there, the little laws that was there, that was protecting only those people who are working there, directly involved in the factory work. But what about other people who are meeting with this accident? Those who are not working, but those who are going through that way or traveling through that way, they are also met with accident from this gas leak and so. So what about what law is there to protect those people? So government realized the law that it was made, it was too weak and not able to protect the people. And this made people realize that the existing laws, though weak, only covered the individual worker and not persons who might be injured due to industrial accidents. In response to this pressure from environmental activities and others, in the years following the Bhopal gas tragedy, the Indian government introduced new laws on the environment. So when government realized the present existing laws are insufficient, government introduced new law. And henceforth, the polluter was to be held accountable for the damage done to environment. So hereafter, if any company is polluting the environment, then he will be held responsible and he will have to do the cleaning of the environment. So earlier that law was not there. That is why that UC company escaped from. They had no responsibility in cleaning up because it was not the law of the country. Then the environment is something that people over generations will share, and it could not be destroyed merely for industrial development. So the environment is once and for all. It is meant for all the people who will come to live on this earth, even for the future. So we should not just think about destroying or maximum utilizing the environment just meant for an industrial purpose. So we have to think about the future generations who will be coming to live here, and we have to keep the environment safe and secure for our future generation to survive on this environment. Then the courts also gave a number of judgments upholding the right to a healthy environment as intrinsic to the fundamental right to life. And in Subhash Kumar versus State of Bihar, the Supreme Court held that the right to life is a fundamental right under Article 21 of the Constitution, and it includes the right to the enjoyment of pollution-free water and air for full enjoyment of life. So one person went to the court to complain against the state. So Subhash Kumar from Bihar, he went to the court. He said the Constitution says right to life. That means if I have the right to live on this earth, but the situations are not good. The water is not clean, the air is not clean, and so on. Therefore, it is the duty of the government to provide a good atmosphere, to provide a good situation for the people to live with a clean water and clean environment. Then, the government is responsible for setting up laws and procedures that can check pollution, clean rivers, and introduce heavy fines for those who pollute. So it is the court told the government that it is their duty and responsibility to make law and to implement that law. If they find that anyone is polluting the atmosphere, maybe air pollution or water pollution, then they have to take action against those who are polluting the air and the water and the environment. They have to take action and they have to provide punishment to these people. That is the responsibility of the government. Now we said the environment is not just meant for us alone, but it is meant for the public. It is meant for everyone. It is meant for even for the future generations who will come to live on this earth. And let's see the next page. So in recent years, while the courts have come out with strong orders on environmental issues, these have sometimes affected people's livelihoods adversely. So when people or the government or the court come and make the law in order to protect the environment of the people, then what happens? Sometimes the people's lives are affected. People, those who are driving old vehicles, it may be having a lot of smoke and polluting the air. Or some people who are running the old factory, it may be producing a lot of smoke and polluting the air and so on. So such kind of people's lives are adversely affected. For instance, the courts directed industries in residential areas in Delhi to close down or shift out of the city. So there are many factories working in Delhi, and the court gave the Delhi, either you close down your factory or take or shift this factory to other place where the population is very less. So that was a difficult problem. And several of these industries were polluting the neighborhood, and discharge from these industries was polluting the river Yamuna because they had been set up without following the rules. So most of these factories, they were in the bank of river Yamuna, and they were polluting the water of Yamuna because they were not following these norms and the rules which are supposed to be followed. Then, but while the court's action solved one problem, it created another. So court gave the order, either you close down the factory or you shift your factory. So pollution problem is solved. But because of the closure, many workers lost their jobs. Others were forced to go far away places where these factories had located. And the same problem now began to come up in these areas. For now, these places became polluted, and the issue of the safety conditions of workers remained unaddressed. So when government told them to close down, some of the factories were closed down, and so people who were working in that factory, they lost their job. No more place to work, no more factory. And some factories were able to shift to another place, far away place, away from the town. And so these people to get do work every day, they had to travel 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers morning, then evening again travel and come back to their home. So it became difficult for those people. So one side pollution is resolved, but the people's problems started. They lost their job, or they had to travel so much in order to reach their job place and so on. And after working few years there, the pollution started there also. It was polluting in Delhi, now it is started polluting in other place. So there also the environment is getting polluted. Though the people are living less that side, but the atmosphere is getting polluted there. So that way, when one problem is solved, another problem starts. When one area is clear, another area becomes polluted and so on. Then, recent research of environmental issues in India has highlighted the fact that the growing concern for the environment among the middle classes is often at the expense of the poor. So, very often the middle class people are affected. The problems are all faced by the middle class people and the poor people. And a lot of development is there. The rich people are not affected. Very often the poor people lose their land, the poor people lose their cultivation area, the poor people are made to work in that such kind of situations and so on. Then, so for example, slums need to be cleaned as part of the city's beautification drive, or as in the case above, the polluting factory is meant to be outskirts of the city. And while this awareness is of the need of a clean environment is increasing, there is little concern for the safety of the workers themselves. So for example, we can say many people are living in the town, cities, in the slums. There's no proper facility, and so if you go to Guwahati or other areas, town, we can see people are just making small house with tarpaulin or with a few tin sheets, and they are staying there. The surroundings are full of dirty water, the polluted water, and so on. So government is planning, let us make this city clean, let us remove all these slums. So these poor people who are staying in the slum, they have to go away, they have to find in a new place. So they are affected. If they are going and staying far away place, they cannot find work. They are staying in that slum so that they can find some work in this city. And if they are chased out, then what about their life? What about their income? How are they going to survive? So nobody is thinking about that. So those people are affected, their lives are affected. Or in the case of that factory in Delhi, court told, remove your factory or close down the factory. What about the lives of those workers? How are they going to get work? How are they going to survive? So some kind of issues are not addressed properly. So government has to take care. When one area is closed, another area has to be opened. One place job opportunity is lost, another place job opportunity should be created. When one place is taken for beautifying, then another place should be given for those people to stay. So government has a lot of work to do in these situations. Then the challenge is to look for solutions where everyone can benefit from the clean environment. So very often we said it is the poor people who are suffering, it is the poor people who are affected. Therefore government has to take good step in order to make sure that nobody is affected. The rich people as well as the poor people, everyone everyone should have the benefit, the advantage of clean environment. So we should not make programs for the benefit of one group of people at the expense of another people. Very often the middle class people or the rich people are enjoying at the expense of the poorest or the poor. So that should not be done. On one way this can be done is to gradually move to cleaner technologies and process in the factory. So in order to bring or remove this pollution, what we have to do? We have to use better technology. The old technology that we are using, that is creating a lot of pollution, sending a lot of smoke and so on. So government has to instruct those companies to use new technology which is reducing pollution and so on. Then we can reduce the process in the factories, the pollution in the factories and so on. The government has to encourage and support factories to do this, and it will need to fine those who pollute, and this will ensure that the workers' livelihoods are protected and both workers and communities living around the factories enjoy a safe environment. So it is the factories who are mostly polluting the situation, and therefore the government has to check the factories. What are their technologies? Is it an old technology or new technology? Or how much pollution are they causing? All that government has to check from time to time. So government is very often supporting the industrialists and the rich people, and the poor people continue to suffer. So government should take care of the lives of the poor people as well. Then they have to take action. If anybody is polluting, even factory is using old technology and old machines, and they are polluting the air by sending out a lot of smoke. Then government has to have the courage to say close down your factory. Your factory cannot function here. It is polluting air, so close down. So government should have that guts to take action against them and punish those who are guilty, those who are breaking the law and so. Then only we can really say the government is for the people. Otherwise the government is only meant for some one sections of the people, that is the rich people, and the poor people are just abandoned and they continue to suffer ill health and danger to their life and so on. You can see in your right side the photos are there. One is emission from vehicles. The right side there is a picture of a vehicle, and lot of smokes are coming out from the vehicles. Old vehicles are running and they are emitting lot of smokes comparing to other new vehicles. So Supreme Court had ordered all public transport vehicles using diesel were to switch to compressed natural gas. So the Supreme Court gave the order. All those who are using diesel engine, they are polluting the atmosphere, polluting the air. So you change your Gadi into a new method, that is using CNG gas, compressed natural gas. So if you use this natural gas, the pollution is less. So use that natural gas. Then as a result of this move, air pollution in cities like Delhi came down considerably. So when government gave this order, Supreme Court gave this order and told them to change this into natural gas, then a lot of pollution level was reduced. Then but a recent report by the Center for Science and Environment, New Delhi, shows the presence of high levels of toxic substance in the air. This is due to emissions from cars run on diesel rather than petrol, and a sharp increase in the number of cars on the road. So recently, one agency made the survey and they saw that a lot of pollution is still there. That is because a lot of diesel cars are running on the road, and that is causing a lot of gas. And also the number of cars is increasing. More and more people are rich, and therefore they are buying more cars, and they are emitting a lot of smokes. Because of that, it is creating a lot of environment pollution still. So government has to still check and make sure that these laws are implemented properly. Then below that you will find one more picture. Workers outside closed factories, thrown out of work. Many of the workers end up are small traders or daily wage laborers. Some might find work in even small production units, where the conditions of work are even more exploitative and enforcement of laws weaker. So we saw in Delhi, so many factories were closed and those people lost their job. Therefore, they started working in small units which are not at all following the safety law, and therefore it is very risky, very dangerous to for these people to work there. Their life is in danger and they can be affected, their life can be lost, and just because they have no other work they are doing this work, and some are doing small works and so on. Before they were working in a good factory, they were getting a high salary, but now everything is reduced because of this safety environment laws. Then advanced countries are relocating the toxic and hazardous industries to developing countries to take advantage of the weaker laws in these countries and keep their own countries safe. So now some of the rich countries, they are very cunning. What do? All the industries that are very dangerous, hazardous, and that are polluting, they will send these factories or these companies go and start company in or start factory in the third world countries or developing countries. So these developing countries, they don't have very strict laws like India we saw before. There was no strict law. So they will send you go and start in other developing poor countries. So their environment will be polluted and our countries will be safe. So that is how most of the rich countries are doing these days. And South Asian countries, particularly India, Bangladesh and Pakistan, play holes for industries producing pesticides, asbestos or processing zinc and lead. So some of the countries like India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, we are very happy to welcome the foreign companies. We are not checking whether they are polluting companies or not. We are not worried what they are producing and so on. So some of them are producing pesticides, or some of them are producing asbestos, some of them are producing zinc and lead and so on. So they are bringing a lot of pollutions, and that is very dangerous for the lives of this country. Since these countries are very poor and developing, we are accepting this risk so that more companies will be opened up in our country and more people will get job. That is what the government is thinking, and the government is not worried much about the pollution that it can cause, the danger that it can come to the life of the people and so on. So let us see now the conclusion. What so long we discussed about the pollution laws and the implementation of the laws and so on. Now what more to be done or how it should be done, let's see. So laws are necessary in many situations, whether this be the market, office or factory, so as to protect people from unfair practices. So wherever people work, whether it be market or it be office or it be factory, there should be law, and people who are working there should be protected from all kinds of dangers. And private companies, contractors, business persons, in order to make higher profits, resort to unfair practices such as paying workers low wages, employing children for work, and ignoring the conditions of the work, ignoring the damage to the environment and hence to the people in the neighborhood and so on. So many people, we said, their main purpose is making profit, whether they are manufacturers or company owners or factory owners, their main purpose is to make maximum profit. So what will they do? They will pay very low wage to the workers, or they will employ children who are below 14 years, so that no need to pay full amount to the children. Children enough to give half wage also, they will be happy. And also ignoring the conditions of the work, not providing safety methods, safety measures to the workers who are working there, and also ignoring the damage that is done to the environment, not checking the environment pollution and so on. So in that way they are polluting the environment, and the people who are living in this neighborhood, they are living in the nearby factory, they are all affected. So all these situations are going on in our country. Then a major role of the government, therefore, is to control the activities of private companies by making, enforcing, and upholding laws so as to prevent unfair practices and ensure social justice. This means that the environment has to make appropriate laws and also has to enforce the laws. Laws that are weak and poorly enforced can cause serious harms as the Bhopal gas tragedy. So government has to make sure that there is a lot of rules are there and the laws are sufficient to protect all the people, all the sections of the people, and that should be implemented properly. So nobody should face injustice. Everybody should be equal in society because the fundamental right to life that should be ensured that good clean environment is provided to all the people and nobody's right is blocked, and so that is the responsibility of the government to make sure. Then while the government has a leading role in this respect, people can exert pressure so that both private companies and the government act in interest of the society. So it is the duty of the government, we agree, but if this government is not doing its duty, what we have to do? We have to do protest. If you don't say anything, then government also will keep quiet. So we have to be alert and we have to put pressure on the government that you are not taking action against those who are violating the law. So we have to protest and then make the government to take action against them. Then environment, as we saw, is one example where people have pushed a public cause, and the courts have upheld the right to healthy environment and intrinsic to the role of life. So we saw the example of people living in different places complain to the court, file case in the court, and the court is upholding. So we saw in the case in Bihar, where a person filed a case that he should have the right to breathe good air and use good water, clean water, and so on. And the court said it is the right of that person because he has the right to live. Therefore, government has to provide clean environment, clean air, and so on. Then, in this chapter, we have argued that people now must demand that this facility of healthy environment be extended to all. So this environment is not the right of only rich nations or rich people, but it is the right of every person in the country, whether they are rich or poor, workers or officers, or owners or workers, whatever it may be. It is right of every person, and everyone should have access to clean environment. And likewise, workers' rights, that is right to work, right to fair wage and decent work conditions, is an area where situation is still very unfair. So in India, with regard to the right of the workers to get that minimum wage or to get that right to fair wage and the right to work and to work in a very good conditions, healthy condition, all that is the rights of the workers, and the government has to still come up to be strict with laws and implement it very strictly so that everyone who is working in the factory and other conditions, they will be able to have a just system, they will be able to receive justice. And people must demand stronger laws protecting workers' interests so that the right to life is achieved for all. So, what the people have to do? They should protest against the government. When the government is inactive, when the government fails to take law, the people have to protest against them and may force the government to make proper laws, to bring new laws so that the workers' interests will be protected and right to life will be benefited to all. All will have that right to live a good life, a proper life, a healthy life, and so on. So that is how we learn about it, we come to know about the rights of the citizens, the duty of the citizens, and so though we are not affected by it, we should be concerned about the life of our fellow human beings, the poor people in our country, how they are affected, and so therefore it is our right to speak on their behalf, to put pressure on the government to make law and so on. We should not just sit and watch. Oh, I am not affected, I am safe, okay, I am happy. But we should be concerned about our fellow human beings in our country, especially the poor, the backward, the working class, and so we should stand for them and demand justice for them. Then only when our rights are violated, others will stand by us. So we should not be just individualistic, but we should live in a society and should be concerned for everyone, and worried about everyone's life, and no one should suffer injustice. Everyone should have the justice done to them and live happily, peacefully. So that is, we come to the end of this civics syllabus in our society, in our class, and so we come to the end of this lesson and end of this syllabus as well. So now I will be sending you this notes again, and as usual you write down and send it to me again. And I also request you to read nicely, learn nicely, not just by hearting the questions and answers, but read this textbook, learn a lot of words at the end of every lesson. A lot of new words are given there, so try to understand the meaning of that and try to apply that in different sentences and improve your language as well. So I thank you all of you for listening to me and patiently so long, and I wish you all the best. Study well, write well, and do well in your life. Okay, so thank you, bye, have a nice day.